is similar to, sometimes my kids and I are in the car, and if there's a field of brown cows, we'd probably drive along. Brown cows, they probably wouldn't even look up for whatever device they happen to be looking on at that moment. They wouldn't look up. But if they looked up, and if my daughter saw a purple cow out there, she would say to me, "Holy shit, Mom, there's a purple cow." And of course, we'd stop, get out, probably take some selfies, text it out to everybody, "Look, we just saw a purple cow." That's what we've got to do for you. How do we have your patients say, "Wow, I've never had an appointment like that before. Wow, you know what they're doing over there at Hawaii Family Dental? Wow, they're really different than any other dentist I've been to." And those are the kind of techniques that we're going to be talking about today, because that's what has patients say yes. That's what has patients decide to move forward with care that they need and want. You're going to hear a lot of different philosophies that we have in Hygiene Mastery, and I do think it's important that we know that our core values are in alignment. And I've had endless conversations with hygienists from the past that work with you. I've had endless conversations with your leadership team. Without a doubt, I know that we're in alignment, but I think it's great to start our day so especially our newbies in the room, know where I'm thinking from. So anything I'm recommending, any suggestion, strategy, characteristic that we're talking about, I want you to know it comes from one of these core values. So one of our core values is we believe in everything that we recommend is in the best interest of the patient. So it always comes down to how do we take the very best care of the patient. We believe in treating disease at its earliest possible juncture. That one is really important. They're all important, but that one resonates all through my DNA. The best way to get the best result in dentistry is to treat at its earliest juncture. Agree? And so you're going to start to see a lot of collaboration between the clinical field and the treatment coordinators and putting that together.
Okay. And, sorry, last thing. Keep in mind, you guys know this already, but our benefits coordinators turn over, and often they're coming in as a hostess from the Red Lobster. And then we have to train them up. So they will never be able to get case acceptance like what I see. Never. Okay. You might find a purple cow benefits coordinator, but it'll be one or two in the company, a whole company. Okay. Keep in mind, they're going to turn over. We have to do a better job at sitting with them and making sure they hear a yes out of the patient's mouth while you're standing there. Okay? I know you can't do that every time. And we're going to work to get the benefits coordinators in your op and try to do all kinds of things. And we'll just get better and better at it. But the benefits coordinators are going to be good at certain things. They probably are going to have a very difficult time explaining the why behind treatment like you guys can.
As we move forward today, this image that you all have in your folders. This is going to be, I guess the best way to explain it is your hygiene business model. If you were to study any successful business, and I'm not talking about success necessarily through revenue, but a successful business whose vision is being met, you will notice that they have one thing in common, which is a business model that shows them how to operate, shows them how to get more of what they want. So some things to consider in your hygiene department, it is always built on your practice vision. The hygiene standard of care is the next level. This is your foundation. It doesn't matter if we talk about post-op calls and Pareo if we don't have a foundation to stand on. So this will be an area that we're always working on in order to support your programs. Love the practice vision, it's in place. Hygiene standard of care, those are the things that it's clinical in nature. Are you going to offer fluoride or are you not? Are you going to have an adult sealant program or are you not? Are you using intraoral cameras or are you not? That's a clinical standard of care that is being decided on in your company. And then personal and professional development, that's what you're doing here today. We are always looking at growing and going to the next level. And then we have identified in Hygiene Mastery that there's basically 8 pillars or 8 programs in the hygiene department. And the more of those pillars you have, or the stronger each one is, the more successful you're going to be. And so today, we're going to be looking at this discovery pillar. That's that hygiene doctor co-discovery process and the benefits of them working together. We're going to look at your disease preventative care program. That's how, okay, if we're going to change the face of dental disease in this state, what level of prevention would we make available to our patients and what that looks like? And then our periodontal therapy. And then you're going to see a lot of these other ones come in place.
So Grace is a perfect representation, exactly what Shannon said, because she is like like grace under fire. I mean, Eva is 8 ops, no bathroom, no break room. The office is about this big, and it just goes. And it doesn't always go perfect because there's so much going on. And she's able to kind of just go with the flow, always do what's best for the patient. And she, obviously, from a production standpoint, is excellent too. She is always near the top as sort of relates to Pareo percentage and fluoride and everything. So she's always somehow keeping it all together and always improving. So she was a great person to nominate. And Sherilyn, who nominated Ronnie? Sherilyn, you want to stand up? Sherilyn was probably speaking.
Ronnie has always, been really open and willing to provide our patients with the best patient care and experience. So.
And she's come into a situation in Kauai that has always been kind of this fluctuating, very difficult place because we've had people come and go. And so you're not always getting patients that are, yay, a new person again. So you've done such a great job at making them so happy that they have it like that. So thank you for that. Everybody has individual reports. Obviously, as Shannon said, we didn't know Shannon was coming until about a week or so ago. And Shannon has very specific things that she wanted to see as it relates to individual hygiene performance. We didn't have that information. Mel and her team went into overdrive to try to create these reports. There's some inconsistencies in them. Do not worry about them. We want to get you used to seeing these reports because you're going to see these reports on a daily, weekly, monthly basis all the time now. They might see some weird spikes in them and stuff. We're going to work that out over the next week. But we didn't want to pull them because we want to get you used to seeing them. You'll see company average and then you'll see your average. If you see a spike in daily average, a couple of these charts have this where it spikes up to $184 or something like that per hour. That's wrong. Just chop those spikes around.
I will be referencing the reports throughout the day, or I'll be giving you an opportunity, for example, when we're talking about our Pareo, you'll be looking at your continuing Pareo percent. When we're looking at the strength of our fluoride program, we'll be looking at the fluoride percent. And this is something very, very important to me that I feel the need to communicate because I am one of you. I sit in meetings like this and my coach comes in and we receive our coaching. And there are times that it's really easy to look at your reports and go into good girl, bad girl conversation. And a sense of feeling of not feeling good. It is not about that. It's a distinction of where you are right now. That's all it is. This is where I am today. And by using the resources and information that John is investing to bring into the company, that you get to choose. This is where I am. Where do I want to go? All right, so moving forward, we're going to start with that first pillar, the co-discovery pillar. Now, what this does not mean, this does not mean that the hygienist is taking over, ruling the world, and doing diagnosis. That is not what this means. What hygiene doctor co-discovery means is taking two professions and working together to get a better result. We've already indicated that the hygienist spends the most time with the patient. So, and it is in our scope of practice to do a hygiene assessment. We're obligated. We're obligated to identify areas of concern. And the point of hygiene co-discovery is to prevent doctors from feeling the weight and the burden of having to come in and constantly tell patients what they need. With the help of the hygienist, we can prevent that from ever happening. Because we can leverage the hygienist and his or her relationship with the patient to pre-frame the concern, and the doctor comes in and confirms it. When that happens, we know that patients say yes more often. It's that simple. When you have a hygiene doctor relationship, patients say yes. John?
Yeah, one of the things to keep in mind as a general practitioner, 50% of your treatment right now is coming in your periodic. Private practice, it's pretty good. I told you we have a lot of 50% today. In private practice, the average is 70%. So keep in mind, you guys, in a DSO, it's a different relationship. You didn't hire the hygienist, you didn't train the hygienist, and your name's not on there, check. So you're going to have to be extra nice, and you can't blow by them. You have to be very kind. And when it doesn't happen, we're going to come together and we're going to talk about it. But our goal is to move your treatment that is accepted and scheduled up to that 70% level in the next year. So we're really going to be relying on the hygienist to tee it up on the assessment, and then for us to really take our time by asking politely what they found in that assessment. And we need a script that will follow for that.
When the hygiene doctor co-discovery process is in place, the end is patients get the treatment they need and deserve. We just see patients more out to enroll. We start to see congruency between hygienists. So when we are teaching our 7-step assessment process, all the hygienists start looking at the teeth the same way. So it's no longer, well, Shannon says this and then the hygienist says this. We want everybody on the same page. And then the hygiene to doctor handoffs are efficient and effective. That's really, really important. Efficient means they save us time. Who here has time to do a 45-minute exam? Nobody. And then finally, at the end, healthy patients obviously equals a healthier practice. Hygiene Mastery is teaching your hygienists to do a 7-step hygiene mastery assessment. Some of your hygienists have already learned this. Some of them are going to be recommitting to it. Some of them are going to continue to practice, and we're teaching your newer hygienists to implement this. Doctors, it's important that you're here because I want you to know what you can expect from them. I want you to know that we've taught the hygienists how to ask a health history question to make sure that we get a quality response. I want you to know that we're teaching your hygienists to take intraoral pictures. I want you to know that they're going to gather all the information for you, identify areas of concerns, so that you can come in and provide the final diagnosis. Now, the good news about that is I always want to teach your hygienists to somewhat be err on a more extreme service. So maybe I'm leaning towards maybe it could be a 3-surface filling or a 2-surface filling. I may still say a crown because then that tees you up to be the hero. Because they're never going to be upset with you if you say, you know what? I think this time we cut it early enough that we can do a 2-surface filling. And we're not quite at a point where we need to do a crown if we get this done as soon as possible. That doesn't make the hygienist look bad. Makes the doctor even look like he's willing to be more conservative. So, and we are never going to say it has to be a certain treatment. We are going to say, we're going to have the doctor confirm what the treatment's going to be. First step is the WMI. And I've given some scripting. There's all kinds of handouts in there for just about anything I'm going to talk about today, supportive handouts to help you get better at this. The WMI is what we call what's most important. And we want to start the hygiene visit out with identifying what's most important to the patient. Hygienists are enrolling every minute of every hour. And if we have the WMI, we now have something to link that recommendation to. The script is for you to have a starting point. I am not saying, you must say it just like this. I am saying, start here as a way to get going, and then you will put your natural flow. You'll put some of your Hawaiian words on it. You'll put your flair, your tone, your personality. What's going to come out of this is you're going to start to identify their highest values. The 4 highest values, I actually think I have a visual for you. 4 highest values that you'll eventually find is comfort, cosmetic, longevity, and function. Ultimately, we're looking for that. They will usually not just come out and say it, though. Most people don't say, oh, my highest value is function. No, they say things like, oh, well, do I really need to have that done because I feel like my teeth work fine the way they are? Is it really necessary to consider ortho? My teeth are already coming together and I can eat. They want to know how is this going to improve the function of their teeth. Longevity, some of your patients will say things like, oh, well, if I do that sealant, how long is it going to last? If I invest in that, how many years will it last? They want to know what they're going to get out of their investment. And comfort, you'll hear a lot of, is this going to be painful? Is it going to hurt? And then aesthetic, they want to know how it looks.
Shannon, I really like the second part of that script where you say, I genuinely care about what's important to you.
Because they're not going to have an answer, so you're going to have to have them be okay with not having an answer, and you're going to have to be okay them not having an answer. It's uncomfortable. I genuinely care about what's important to you. It's learning about how human beings think and what has them make decisions, and that's what's key. So WMI is intended to create a connection and for you to know what moves them. Your second step is your health history, dental history. Now, in most cases, since the day we became hygienists, we ask the health history question like, have you had any changes in your health history? Agreed? Is that how most of us ask it? Have you had any changes in your health history? I'm going to ask you to make a 2 millimeter change. That'll be one of the hardest changes you'll ever make because we're so conditioned to ask it that way. But there's a problem with asking it that way. When we say, have you had any changes in your health history? What do they say? They say no. How do I know they say no? Because they always say no. We all know this. Because it's a conditioned response. We learned to say no from the time we were 18 months old. And so when a question comes our way, before we even think about the question, we already create the answer no. The problem with that is they're not giving us a quality response. Because I'm going to teach you how to use this health history question to link to your periodontal treatment plan. I'm going to teach you that if we can find something in their medical field, in their medical health, and link it to dentistry, they will move forward with it. So we're going to now ask it like this. This is what you flew me in for, is to change this question. Share with me what changes you've had in your health history since the last time I saw you. It sounds so simple, and it really is. It will be one of the things that'll be hard for you to change, though, because we've all been asking it the same way for so long. You will get a different response. Because when I say, Leilani, share with me what changes you've had in your health history since last time I saw you, their brain can't say no. Their brain starts looking for an answer. So it's looking for whatever change occurred. What do you think I'm going to do at the end of the appointment? What do you think I'm going to enroll? I was probably going to enroll it anyway, but what do you think I'm going to link it to? A fluoride treatment. So then rather than making it about, once again, I'm going to have the same conversation that you said no to 5 other appointments on why you should do a fluoride treatment to keep from getting cavities, I just found an end of how to make this specific to you and your needs. We have our oral cancer screening. Doctors, are you also doing the oral cancer screening, or is it just the hygienist?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay, great. I love when all professionals are doing it. It's so very vital. We know it saves lives, and so the more people, the better. And then we have our dentition and occlusal assessment. So once again, the hygienists are not diagnosing. However, I do charge the hygienist with bringing up any past treatment that has not been completed. That's their first step as they're looking at the dentition. Having a conversation with the patient to identify what got in the way of us starting that treatment. And you're listening, because they'll tell hygienists things that they don't necessarily tell the doctor. And we're listening for it. Is it a financial concern? Is it, I didn't even know I had to have that done. You know, they kind of said something about it last time that didn't seem that important. And then the second part of the dentition inclusion assessment is to identify any new areas of concern that we want to communicate to our doctors. Whether they're doing the exam on the same day with us or at a future exam, or something that we need to go down the hall and share with them to come in and take a look at. Okay? And then finally, our intraoral camera assessment. It is going to be expected and requested, or maybe requested and expected, whatever order you want to put that in, that hygienists are utilizing the intraoral cameras at every hygiene visit. If you're going to do any perio of any nature, whether it's a gingivitis treatment or periodontal therapy, take a picture of the gums after you do your perio chart. Take a picture of a hemorrhaging bleed line. They don't get it. We know they don't get it when we say it. We can talk all day long and be the talking head that talks about perio and how the gums shouldn't bleed and there's inflammation in the gums and gums are swollen. They don't know there's anything wrong with that. They don't know anything different. But when you actually have an image, an actual picture, and say, I'm concerned, for example, in this area you can see that the gums are hemorrhaging. That's because the gums are ulcerated underneath. The bacteria has penetrated through the soft tissue of the gums, created open wounds, and allowing them to hemorrhage. And nowhere else on our body does that happen. Take a picture of that. Show that to them. They don't know, guys. And pictures speak 1,000 words. The picture will get you further than anything you could ever say. One of the things that we're going to be teaching, and John's going to be reinforcing, and you're going to see it come out in a lot of the Hawaii Family Dental information, is these different steps that help you be more persuasive, or the science around being persuasive. And I'm actually going to show you a short video later on that. And one of those steps is how to internal market each other. The next visit that you're going to have is going to be with our most amazing hygienists. They're incredible. They're so committed to taking the very best care of our patients. Tee us up as that, because it speaks volumes, and then they're more likely to listen to what we want to do moving forward. Same thing, hygienists. You can internal market your doctor before every periodic exam. Dr. Joe is going to do a fantastic job. All of our patients love him. The standard of care is a new Pareo chart every 12 months. In Hygiene Mastery, we teach every 6 months. That's what I would prefer. I'd love for them to take that up a notch because once a year you're likely to miss sites that are becoming inflamed. So, and then Pareo maintenances, every single Pareo maintenance gets a Pareo chart. You cannot even ethically do a Pareo maintenance without a current Pareo chart because the whole point of the Pareo maintenance is to suppress the disease. Well, how do I know which areas have reinfected if I didn't do a Pareo chart that day? When it comes to step to do your Pareo charting, I would encourage you to rephrase it as, I'm going to do an assessment on your gums that's going to let us know if there's any areas of concern. It is a value building item. It says that I did an assessment so important today that I would need to give this to you. Okay, very good. So doctors, this is my commitment to you for all my doctors that are in the room. This is what I'm asking your hygienist to provide you. So your exams should get a lot easier because you should be able to depend on us to gather this information for you. So just a quick refresher on just about everything we talked about. This is what I call taking a trip around the examination process and a reminder for our hygienist. Transformational vocabulary. I shared a couple of transformational vocabularies with you, right? We talked about rephrasing the health history question. We talked about rapport building skills, interaural camera, and then identifying obstacles. So that is part of your co-discovery process. And remember I talked about how we want to look at their past due treatment if they didn't complete it. And of course, I taught you a wide array of power questions. And in your handout or in your folder, I actually gave you a power question worksheet. As you use your intraoral camera, I want to teach you a very, very simple technique in enrollment. I know there's all kinds of ways out there that you can learn to enroll patients. And today you're going to learn the intraoral camera enrollment, and we're going to start to teach you some of the persuasive skills that your company is going to be using to help patients understand treatment. And hygienist, since you already committed to using intraoral camera, this is going to be perfect for you, and it's going to work perfect for your fluoride program, your sealant program, and your Pareo program. So the cool thing is, I'm going to teach you one thing that you can use with all of the things that you want to talk about. So the first step is identify the need, state the consequence, be the solution, and give the commitment.
We will have posters in every room. Center of Disease Control, top 10 in the last century, and we will have big things that we do pre, during, and post to support you in your goal of getting the fluoride treatment done. And remember to add always, we're the only state in the country without fluoridated water. You need fluoride treatment. And otherwise, you're not getting the other way. This is a partnership between the GPs and the hygienists. We recognize hygienists this morning for the Pareo percentage and preventative and even production. I wanted to recognize 3 GPs in the room who have, actually 2 of them, the first 2 I'll call out, have over 50% diagnosis of Pareo. Oh, amazing. Okay, in the last 18 months. And the third one, very close, but over 3 years at 38%.
Oh, wow.
So amazing job, Dr. Herr. I think it's if you guys work together or something, Dr. Lee. I know he was staring at
So we spent the first part of the presentation really buttoning up that co-discovery process. If you think of it as the hygienist putting the T, if anybody knows about golf, they have the T, put the T down, the hygienist puts that T down, the doctor puts the golf ball on, and our treatment coordinators, they're the swing. So there's a 3-step process that has to happen. As we move into our Pareo program, I know John showed you the same similar slide. I think it's really important that we still go back and remind ourselves of this. There is more periodontal therapy out there to treat than what we're even capable of. I mean, there's more need than practitioners that we even have here. So what that means is we've got to do a diligent job at identifying it, getting it accepted, and completed. It's a multi-step process. A couple other factors that I want to bring to your attention when it comes to the prevalence is John was correct. The data, the images that we have out there are actually a little old. That in 18, there's even an updated survey or study that shows we're at 50%. And if you go with over 65, 70%. What's even more critical with these stats is when you look at Hawaii as an individual state. So if we know that at least 50% of adults have some degree of periodontal disease or advanced periodontal disease, where do you fall within your patient population and the community that you're treating? Hawaii is second in the country as far as prevalence. Yeah, I heard somebody say, wow. This is another slide that hit the relevance of what we know as far as systemic links. I'm very passionate about this particular part of the program because for years in dentistry, our platform has been about saving teeth. Treat the periodontal disease to save your teeth. If you want to keep your teeth, treat the periodontal disease. That platform was not very stable because the reality is some patients don't care if they lose their teeth. So then what do we do? Okay, well, I guess if you don't want to keep your teeth, then treating the periodontal disease isn't relevant. But in today's dentistry, it's no longer about keeping teeth. Yeah, if keeping teeth is important to you, then it makes sense. But we're talking about the difference of saving somebody's life. We're talking about something much bigger today than saving teeth. And I'm not saying that saving teeth isn't important, but we can't, that's not our only platform anymore. We have a much bigger obligation to our community, people that we serve.
A lot of people, as you mentioned, don't even care about their own health. But as soon as you tell them that they have bad breath and that it's because the tissue is dying in their mouth, and everybody they speak to, whether they brush their teeth or not, is going to smell dying tissue, then all of a sudden you get acceptance because they just care about how other people think of them right now. Tell them they have bad breath. Tell them they have blood and pus in their mouth. And if they still don't accept treatment, dismiss.
Well, what John was saying is people don't always make decisions based on themselves, but how they are impacting others. We see this all the time. We'll see husbands that won't take care of themselves, but they'll do anything for their family. We see mothers who will do anything for their children, but they don't take care of their own body, right? And in about 2016, somewhere in there is when the AD actually started putting in their pamphlet, in print, that this is transferable between couples and between parents and children. So parents are introducing this bacteria to the children, and children aren't great brushers anyway, so they're having bacterial buildup in the mouth, predisposing them and putting them on a path to having periodontal issues. So as we look at your periodontal program, one of the things that I did put in your handout, I thought it would be a great reference so that whole company's on the same page on when you diagnose healthy mouth, gingivitis treatment, and periodontal therapy. Because we do want every patient to be categorized with one of these stages that they can be in. So on your worksheet, we're going to be talking about your Pareo program and making sure that we're all in alignment for the stages. In the meantime, I've got to address something that it was new on January 1 of 2017. There are a few people in here that have done it a few times. But we need to address the new code, which is the gingivitis code. So one thing that you need to know is that a patient can be in any of these paths of care, or states. A patient can be healthy, they can have soft tissue disease, or they can have disease in the bone. That has always been true. Nothing has changed about that. It has always been true. The problem is, up until January 1 of 2017, we didn't have any codes to treat this. So if a patient was healthy, fine, we did a prophy. If a patient had gum disease, we did periodontal therapy. But if the patient had gingivitis, what would we do? We got real creative, hygienists, right? We do a prophy 1 and a prophy 2. So I do want to walk you through this for a moment. A healthy patient is defined as somebody who has less than 30% bleeding in the mouth, less than 30%, so if they have, bleeding between tooth number 2 and 3, and that's it, less than 30% bleeding points in the mouth, and no bone loss. That is the definition of a healthy patient. If the patient has inflammation in the tissue and has 30% or more bleeding points and no bone loss, they have what we call gingivitis. And it's critical to understand that gingivitis is reversible. So this means that the infection has gone into the tissue, but because it hasn't gone into the bone, we can reverse it. This is a beautiful place to be. Because with our help, we can put them back in prophies. We can treat the gingivitis and get them back in a preventative care program. We've caught it early enough. It is a full mouth treatment. So you wouldn't bill out a prophy on the top teeth and a gingivitis treatment on the bottom. It's one treatment for the whole mouth. And you're treating the whole mouth because there's more than 30% bleeding. But no bone loss. If you have bone loss, then that means that the infection has spread past the soft tissue and the bacteria and the disease is now in the bone. Once you have bone loss, you are Pareo for life. You have a permanent scar in your mouth. We are not in the business yet of growing back bone. I hope one day, before I leave planet Earth, that we do have some cure or something that we can give hygienists and put under the gum line that actually grows bone back. But as long as we've lost bone at this point, we're not in the business of growing it back, which means what that means is we have to see them on an interval that keeps the disease suppressed, because it will come back. Gum disease is episodic. It comes and goes. It flares up. It suppresses. You get a bacteria buildup in this area. It comes back. Because once you've lost bone, you've lost the integrity of the tissue and the bone around the teeth, and the patient can't keep it clean. All right, so this is what we would traditionally consider Pareo for life. This is the patient that ends up revolving in Pareo maintenances and potentially Pareo retreats. Gingivitis treatment first, get all the bacteria in the mouth, allow the gums to heal, see them back in 4 to 6 weeks for a prophy. You'll probably polish at that prophy. I would not polish at the gingivitis treatment. I simply tell the patients the polish is grainy and gritty, and I don't want to do anything that's going to cause more irritation to the gums. That gets you out of the polishing part. So bring them back for an hour appointment in hygiene 4 to 6 weeks later. Fill out a prophy. At that time, you'll polish, review oral hygiene with them, and at that appointment, you give them your very best recommendation for a recare interval. Because 6 weeks have gone by, you now know how good they are, how not so good they are with hygiene. Maybe in order to keep them in prophies, you want to see them every 3 months for prophies, or 4 months for prophies, or maybe they're 6 months for prophies. And then what do we do with our patients who are not reversible? We actually have infection in the bone. And now we've got to deal with that, because that's a long-term situation. So when we're looking at your Pareo program, or people who actually have gum disease that is progressed to the bone, that's what we say your periodontal program, or periodontal therapy. There are 4 phases, and I want to make sure that all of us in the company are doing the 4 phases correctly, because sometimes we can get a little off on it, or we forget certain things about it, or maybe we just didn't know what we didn't know. So the first phase, the good news is you already know the first phase. We learned that this morning. What's the first phase? Diagnosis, which includes your 7 steps of the Hygiene Mastery Assessment. If you do those 7 steps, and you provide your doctor that information, a final diagnosis can be generated. So diagnosis. Some rules with this particular program is diagnosis and treatment could happen on the same day, or they can be done on separate days. No phase is allowed to be left out, and they're not allowed to be in different order. So they have to be in this order, and we have to do every phase if we're going to have a comprehensive Pareo program. So diagnose, treat, reeval, and make them. This one's a little bit of a hard topic because arrestin can be used many different ways, and I get challenged when I'm not an arrestin rep and I'm not going to agree with what the arrestin rep is going to say. So when I leave here, if you bring in an arrestin rep, they're going to say something that's very different than what I'm saying. So I'm going to tell you my spill, I'm going to tell you what they're going to say, and then the doctors will have to decide what your philosophy is. If you bring in the arrestin rep, what they're going to say is, when you do scaling root planing, every single pocket that's 5 millimeters or greater and bleeding, you must put arrestin in. I would rather do the least invasive, allow me to do SRP first, allow the body the opportunity to have some self-healing, which our bodies heal beautifully when we remove the irritants. And then, if I don't get what I want, and I still have an issue, I can resort to the medicine in my toolbox. I have great success with my patients in arrestin enrollment when I say to them, this is a bacterial-driven infection. And as you know, with most bacterial infections, it requires antibiotics to help heal it. with your permission, I'd like to do the most non-invasive procedure first. Let's give your body an opportunity to self-heal. And if we need medicine, then we can cross that bridge when we get there. Looking at your Pareo program at a bird's eye view and re-evaluating all this stuff that I just told you in very, very limited amount of time, we talked about our prevalence. Your prevalence really is what drives the opportunity in your Pareo program. We know the opportunity is there. We've already stated that. But making sure your standard of care is in alignment. So hygienists and doctors, I'm really moving forward. I want you guys collaborating. That's a great time to make sure that we're communicating the standard of care. Because maybe the hygienist needs to learn that, no, that's Pareo. You should be concerned about that. Or maybe that the hygienist is finding things that the doctor's not finding. That's the beauty of collaboration. The patient will always be in a better position when these two professionals are collaborating together. Your beliefs, evaluating your Pareo beliefs. Do you believe that it's unhealthy if our gums hemorrhage? I mean, if you don't believe that, you're probably not going to have a very successful Pareo program because hemorrhaging gums is one of the signs and signals that we should do something about it. The 1-to-4 ratio. So knowing that for every one Pareo patient, you're going to create about 4 appointments. I know in some of the centers that's going to be a little bit of a challenge because we're already short on hygiene, but it's a quality problem to have. And then understanding that because these services do cost the patient money, you have to be willing to attach massive value. And then your periodontal percentage. So as you know in the stats, we're measuring the health of your Pareo program. With all the stats are is a measurement of the care that we're giving. So as you give better care in Pareo, or as you increase your Pareo awareness, your Pareo percent will go up. Let's go through our preventative care program. The hygienist will not be successful in the preventative care program without the help of the doctors. So just like we're going to help you get treatment, and we want to flood your columns with new treatment that we're helping find and that we're helping patients see value in, this is where now we're going to ask you for help. Because we're going to be charging your hygienist to really take on preventative care. So in your preventative care program, one of the things that we have to look at is, well, what services are you even going to offer, like adult fluoride treatment, sealants, that sort of thing. The relationship and building, communicating the value of, or building a community that supports preventative care. Creating value because these services traditionally cost money and most of them are not covered by insurance. And then monitoring and making sure that we're getting success in those areas. This is what, some of these are meant to be a little funny and to exaggerate the situation, but this is what you're competing with. The $5 coffee. I mean, add that up. You get a fluoride treatment twice a year with the amount of coffee we're drinking. Look at the apps that we put on our cell phones and the cell phone bill itself. I mean, imagine the shopping. Yeah, that's kind of funny because I always say that was me before Hygiene Mastery. This is, in a year, the average amount of money that's spent in these areas. And I just want to bring one area to your attention. You see this right here? If I find that warehouse, I am retiring. In your preventative care program, I'm going to be teaching the hygienist, and we're going to be working together this afternoon to really focus on this. Prevention's not about treating anyway. Prevention's about you're not in decay state now, you're not in disease state now. What do I have in my toolbox that can keep you there? So everybody is at least low risk, which means, according to the American Dental Association, the standard of care is if you're low risk, you should be given the opportunity to have 2 fluoride treatments a year, at minimum. Once you progress to high risk and moderate risk, or moderate to high risk, they encourage you to do 3 to 4 fluoride treatments a year. The pH scale, it's just our culture, we eat acidic foods. It's what we do. So we want to make sure that we're inviting all of our patients to participate in prevention, not just the ones that we think are going to get future cavities. I think it's pretty customary, and most people understand the value of sealants for kids. Agree? We're all pretty much taught that we should put sealants on kids. We should all do fluoride treatments on kids. The reason why we all know that is because most of us were in a generation of time where the dental community came together and said, the fastest growing population of people who are getting cavities are our kids, and we need to do something about this. And what did we start doing? We started doing child sealants and child fluorides. However, today, does anybody know the fastest growing population of the generation of cavities? The adults. They're not even the elderly, it's actually the adults. So we have put steps in place to protect our kids, and those steps work. but yet we didn't apply them to other people who could use them. And so in today's dentistry, the number one overlooked, underutilized resource that we have to keep people from getting cavities is adult sealants.
So this guy, he wrote the textbook on persuasion. In fact, they read it in business schools across the country. These aren't, remember what our mission is, right? Is to treat patients. Now, we're going to be talking to the benefits coordinators, right? Because they think they're selling. Are they selling? They're not selling. They're not selling. They're persuading our patients to get the treatment that you've already diagnosed is right for them. And that's a small change in mindset, but a huge change in the way they think about their job, right? And we have to remind them all the time about this. It's not, you're not a Nordstrom shoe salesman. You are getting people to get the treatment they need to improve their health and well-being. That's our mission. And we're going to tie everything back to that all the time. All the time. It has to come out in the morning huddle every day. So we've changed the morning huddle scripting. Every day in the morning huddle now, at the end of the morning huddle, somebody, the designated person by the operation manager, will say, we have 62 people that we have the ability to improve their health and well-being today. Let's go get it. We will end the morning huddle every day with that. Health and well-being. We're here to improve the health and well-being of every person. They're not selling, they're influencing people to do what's right for them. And we're going to start using this to get people to refer more, to get people to accept treatment. Generally, before, during, and after, we have to use these strategies in the way that we communicate with patients in order to get them to accept the treatment that you guys have diagnosed, right? We can't expect them to do what's right for themselves. We have to use the way our brains work. That's why we took 11 minutes out of today to show this. And it doesn't just turn into, okay, now I know exactly what to say in all the right ways and all the right circumstances. This is just a seed. And we'll try to follow it up all the time now with scripting. But now we all have a common vocabulary to work off of. So when we talk about reciprocity, and why I want my dentist to hand new patients a gift, you guys aren't like, what? That feels weird. It's not. You get it. Okay? It's not me coming up with these ideas. It's not. I'm doing it because I know that that's how you're going to create relationships. That's how you're going to create trust, and that's how you're going to get patients to accept the treatment that you believe they need. So that's the key to all of this. That's what we're doing here today.
As Shannon mentioned at one o'clock, it's a great opportunity for us to bring all of our benefit coordinators together company-wide in order to support the things that our hygienists and our doctors are speaking to our patients about, specifically about the importance of their health and the treatment they need to get. Now, we would like to encourage in that training with our benefits coordinators and our operation managers, we would like to encourage our general dentists that are attending this morning to please join us. We think that this training will be very impactful in understanding how is it, more specifically, what is it that we're doing to help support the treatment that you are diagnosing, and how are we being influential in order to have them getting them scheduled and overcoming any obstacles that they may have.
We're gonna be role playing. You know, without our DPs involved, role playing kind of falls flat, right? Because you guys are doing the handoff. And when you're doing the handoff, unless we're role playing this handoff, we can't get into, well, what happens when they ask this question? Or if you leave the room and this question gets answered, what do? We can't get into all the things that are already happening because you're not there to help kind of like role play this. I know that right now, a lot of you guys rely on your DA to do the handoff. And we used to rely on the routing slip to do the handoff. But I'm telling you, we gotta pick a number. Let's see you pick $1,000, whatever the number's gonna be. When you have a treatment plan over $1,000 or $1,500, whatever number we wanna use, maybe it's 2 crowns or more. So you've got it all the way to the 3-yard line, okay? And then you hand it off the DA is going to move, so it's you to the DA to the BC, the BC just started, and you think by gaining a 3-yard line and walking away that it's going to get over the goal line, but it's not. It's not. I promise you, you will lose 50% of those patients in the BC room, no matter how good of a job we try to do in this training today. It will not stick because they don't have the education that you guys have had over the years. They don't have it. So I'm telling you, sit down. If there's more than 2 crowds, okay? Sit down and let the BC hear in your presence that there was a case acceptance, and here's what, in fact, if you hear what the questions were and you answered them, you can say, oh, Mrs. Smith is concerned about this and this and this, and this is what I told her, but we got to get her in because if we don't, these are the things that are going to happen. Now all they have to do is schedule. Hey, think of our treatment coordinators and our benefits coordinators for now, the schedulers. When we think of them that way, they're not closing any cases for you guys. 0. You're closing, but you're not closing unless you're there when you see the schedule get made and it's in the calendar. And you really know that there's commitment. Then you have a closed deal. It is challenging and will never be perfect, but you know your big cases and you know when somebody's on the fence. You know that. And it's not every time. It's not every time. And you can get the benefits coordinator in your office. Hey, I need, get your DA to go. I need to get her, bring her in. She needs to hear this, yes, because I don't have time to go in waterfront 300 yards to the front of the and then where am I supposed to sit in waterfront? Okay, let's all squeeze in next to this other group over here. It doesn't work. So yes, it's location specific, it's patient specific, it's circumstance specific. Rebecca lost her BC. What is she going to do? She's also the DA in the LM, by the way. So yeah, I mean, you're going to do the best you can in every situation. All I'm telling you is, if you see a situation where you know, in your heart, this person's on the fence, and they really need this treatment. It's not cosmetic. We're not talking about veneers. Okay? If they're on the fence on veneers, fine. Go home, talk to your family, see if you'd rather do this or renew it this year. But not for some things. They have to get it done. It's only going to get worse. And for those things, we have to sit down and make sure that the commitment is heard.